y'all, it's time.
Come on, let's go. Let's do it.
Rolling on the road
With the doc,
rolling on the road,
with Dave,
rolling on the road.
with the doc.
100 shades of the possibility with Dave and Dr. Bertie.
All right. That was cool.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go. That was
All
nice.
All right, y'all. So I was just telling them back there in the green room that I do not remember how to do just the audio. So we're going to go with the whole little shebang bang for a little bit. But today is Tuesday, and it is May 28th, the year of 2024, the year of our Lord, 2024. And if you are watching via GRTV 25, we want to say thank you once again for tuning in. We greatly love and appreciate you. And guess what? Heidi, Dave's not home, but he has a meeting today and he doesn't get done until 5 o'clock. But I'm so excited. I am holding my hand so I don't go flailing again. Kylie, okay. It got away. Kylie's here. And she is our guest co-host today. And you guys remember her from back last fall. Yes. Miss Antoinette James. And you remember her because she works with the families with Kids with Life. But she does it the opposite way than the way that happened with me. She works directly with the hospitals. So they'll call and say, hey, I think we have somebody that you might need to come and talk to. And she'll rush anywhere across the state of Michigan. And she meets with the families, has that conversation. Some days it's a yay, other days it's a nay. Ooh, but today we're talking about something different because I think it kind of coincides with her book called Behind the Badge. And she's going to tell a little bit about who she is, what she did, and how she got to where she is now to this book. And you're really going to love the way how all of it really ties in. It's great. So get your box of tissue, get your nice drink of choice. I got that in my water. And sit back and get ready for a good conversation. All right. So we want to say Antoinette has long wavy hair. Her hair is longer than Kylie.
You've got mermaid hair.
Hers is it's wavy, and she is an African American woman with these beautiful light bright eyes, and she has a glowing smile to match it, and she has on a dark colored top today. And Kylie, I'm holding my hands. Kylie, she is here. She calls it her grandma's shirt, but I think it's wonderful. It is perfect for now. It's blooming flowers and with a dark background. And of course, her beautiful dark colored hair with her glasses and that smile. Oh my gosh, wins you over every time. And you know me, I am in my signature color, matching all the way from the lips, the jewelry, the shirt, and okay, there we go.
Oh,
The eyelash.
Wow. Yeah. Aren't you gorgeous?
And the glasses, always representing the color purple. Now I understand that movie even more when Suge Avery says, I think it pisses God off when people walk past purple and don't pay it no attention. Because I'm purple, right?
Yeah.
I embody everything that is concerning the color purple. Hey, Shantae, I want to say thank you so much for Shantae Paul tuning in already. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She is Turbulence Time, New World Comedy. Yep, shameless plug. She is a female comedian and she will be coming on the show soon. So
Awesome.
tell the people a little bit about yourself. Catch them up. I already know, but you catch them up.
Catch them up. Okay, well, where should I start? The beginning or middle? Where would you like me to start at?
Oh my God.
I want to know your history and where did you start? Did you just decide to write a book? How did this come about?
Okay, so I'll go back in time and I'll bring it forward. I'll try to connect the dots so the story will come together, about how I even started to write a book. Right, I've journaled since I was a little girl. You know, when your mom gave you a journal with the little key on it, right? Where you could write your thoughts down and things like that. So my mom did that when I was a little girl, and I used to journal. I journaled in my childhood. I journaled in my teenage years. And when I became a police officer, I even journaled my training in the academy. I journaled my shift, things that happened on my shifts. And I just journaled my whole life. And how I became an author, I never dreamed that I would be an author because my childhood dream was either to be a mortician or a Detroit homicide detective. And we'll go into how those two came to be. So after I left the police department in 2000 and I have to think about it, it's 2006. 2006, I left the police department and I had a dream. And in this dream, it was very vivid. And I heard a woman's voice say, "Tell your story. You lived and I didn't." And when I got up from the dream and I researched this, I thought it was this woman's voice when I researched her because she was in my dream. And I Googled everything about her. Oh, you guys hear that?
That's the thunderstorm.
Oh, yeah, it's thunder in here. And so when I Googled the young lady in my dream, I began to write her story. And fast forward 3 years, I moved. I still was working on it. And our basement flooded. We moved into a new home, and Detroit had a very bad storm, flooding, and our basement flooded with 4 feet of water. And all of my journals were in that basement. Not all of them. I'd probably say 4. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to finish writing this book? Because most of my journals was what I was gathering my memory from, my data, my story. And I had another dream. And the dream actually showed me how to write the book. And I realized that the woman's voice that was telling me to tell her story that I lived in, she didn't. It was me. I was dreaming, seeing myself and seeing this young woman in my dream. And I realized that she didn't live, but I did. So that's what sparked Behind the Badge Her Story, because it's just not about me and my life, my childhood. It's about other women who have been a part of my journey, from my daughters to my mother to my identical twin sister, and just other women who I met along the way. So that's what sparked me to write the book. I've never dreamed I'd be an author, but here I am today. I am a self-published author, and I would say the book is doing very well. I published it 2021. Self-published it, launched it, and then I revised it in 2022. So it's a second edition because I realized the first book had some issues. I wanted to, go back through and read it, and I did. And I was like, okay, I need to make this a lot more clear and a lot more, I guess you would say top of the line. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Such a journaler.
Oh yeah, I did. I wrote I journaled so much, and that's where you can go back and look and say, this was what was going on in my life at that time, and kind of piece everything together. And it's very therapeutic, and writing a book was very therapeutic for me. It took 15 years to complete it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, and in those 15 years, I'll tell you, life happened, and I at least have 15 more books. But I actually, when I do my book signings and things, I kind of tell what happened after the bad versus me writing it, because I mean, I don't have a lot of time at this point. But yeah.
What do you mean you don't have a lot of time?
So the time it takes to write a book, or I shouldn't say don't have a lot, but my time at this point is I'm doing book signings, I'm doing book fairs, I'm doing book clubs, and then I'm still working in my assignment as a donation support specialist with Gift of Life. I have my family, I have my church. I just have a lot of things going on, and then I have a middle daughter that was in ICU for 8 months. So taking care of my daughter who was in a hospital for 8 months. So things just kind of, I had to put my writing to the side to take care of life. Life has really been lifing, as they say. So my time has really been occupied and then trying to balance things out.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
What made you desire to be a mortician?
A mortician. So as a little girl, I had a paper route, and on that paper route, we had I grew up in Ypsilanti, which is a small town, home of Eastern Michigan University, just about probably 30 minutes east of Ann Arbor. So in that little town back in the day, we talking about back in the 70s, I had a paper route, and there was this funeral home called Lucille's. And Lucille's was predominantly serviced Black African Americans in our community. And on my paper route, I always stopped by the funeral home to see who was there and visit, right? Because a lot of my family migrated from Canada to Ypsilanti. So mostly everyone that had passed away when I was a little girl, I was either related to them, they either attended the church, they were friends of the family, married into the family. So they were really family. And I would stop by the funeral home to just look at them, And in my upbringing in church, it was always preached about heaven and hell, where you would spend eternity after you leave here and die. So I've always been intrigued about life and death and what happens after it. But even more so when I would go into the funeral homes just to look at those loved ones and family members and things just laying there at rest, kind of just intrigued me, where I wanted to be that person, right? I wanted to be that person to help them in that final stage, at least what I thought here on earth would be their rest. So that kind of kicked off my wanting to be a mortician. And in school I dissected insects and won science fairs and did a lot of research on death of insects. And I was like, okay, why not, I guess people, which some people say that's a little morbid, but I was always intrigued on the spiritual aspect as well as the natural. So that's the mortician part. So yeah. And then you talk about homicide, right? Detroit homicide detective. I watched Nancy Drew, Chips, you name the cop shows, Cagney and Lacey, Hill Street Blues. I mean,
Dating herself.
Oh yeah, I am. So I was really infatuated with crime stories, crime shows, and then on my paper route, I would read the crime blotter in the newspaper. And on Sundays, we get this real big stack of papers, and Detroit was in that Sunday paper, and reading about crime in Detroit. And I always loved going to visit the big city. So I was like, one day I'm going to either be a mortician or a Detroit homicide detective. So that's where that came from.
Those are heavy career paths.
Yeah, very, very heavy. And I'll say God definitely took me further than that, right? Because I did eventually move to Detroit. I eventually was going into mortuary science, but I'm not very good. Math is not my favorite subject. I really don't like it, right? And then we talk about chemistry and we talk about calculus. We talk about all those numbers that were required in mortuary science. So I ended up shifting my class, my studies. And I talked to a judge and a couple other people. They were like, well, you could be a Detroit homicide detective and make more money. And I mean, there it was. And so when I did move to Detroit, I ended up working at the medical examiner's office, the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office. So that's even deeper than a mortician.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I was an autopsy technician.
Wow.
It didn't give you bad dreams.
No bad dreams. If anything, I dreamed about my cases, right? Like what was their life before it ended? Because at the medical examiner's office, we would get cases that were a homicide, suicide, or the doctor wasn't willing to sign off on a death certificate and wanted to find out the cause of death. So most of the cases I had on my roster were homicide and suicide. So I didn't get bad dreams. I just dreamed about what happened to the person and who possibly was the perpetrator, the one who ended that person's life. You know, I had dreams about solving the crimes. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Yep, I would have dreams about, and the thing is, the sad part, what really would hit home with me were children, who were killed by gun violence, children killed by abuse by a boyfriend, where, let's say a mother leaves her child with her boyfriend while she goes away for the weekend and comes back, and, unfortunately the boyfriend would be the person who would, end that child's life. So many different things that I would see, women, so many women, so much, but yeah.
But did it make you feel like there was just no hope, that it just like a cloud all the time? Where did you find joy?
My faith in God, my relationship with God, and having my girls, because it's almost like at the medical examiner's office, when you would go into the post room. The post room is where the autopsy would happen. It's like you leave this realm and go into a whole nother spiritual realm, right? It's a place where I knew I wouldn't be staying for long, and I had an assignment to do. So I understood my assignment, and I understood when I was done that I would be leaving and coming back to my family. You know what I mean? So knowing that wasn't a permanent place for me, that it was just my assignment for the hours that I was there, gave me the hope, gave me the cloud over I didn't have a cloud. If anything, I had the sun, because I could leave and go home and see my family, right? And then even in my line of work, you're finding out how someone was tragically killed or how someone unexpectedly died. So there was some resolve for me in that work, that I was doing something good, helping ease a family's pain, and finding out, okay, this is how your loved one died, or helping the police department get the clues they needed to a homicide, collecting evidence and things like that. So I that gave me hope that I was a part of finding, solving a crime, an unsolved crime.
Oh, wow. It is now 18 minutes after the hour, and we want to say thank you so much for tuning in. We are rolling in Detroit, or I should say the Detroit area, with Miss Antoinette James, who is the author behind the badge, her story. And this has just really been an exciting journey that we've been on, concerning her life. She is an African-American woman who has long brunette hair. It's longer than Kylie's.
Oh my gosh.
And she has this beautiful smile that really adorns this lovely face. Look at that smile. Y'all see that smile? And she has these light colored eyes to match, and she has on a dark shirt. And then we have Kylie, who has long brunette hair, and she's wearing her glasses, and she's got, as she likes to call it, her grandma in bloom top. And yes, and we need it with all of this rain and hail and crazy weather we have here in Michigan.
Mhm.
And you know your girl, she is in her signature color. I don't know where all this purple comes from. I think it's just always there just for me.
It's
Of
beautiful.
course, you know, with the glitter lashes to match,
Those are
and
gorgeous.
lipstick and glasses. We want to say thank you so much for those folks who are watching on Twitter X. I guess that's the best way to call it. We're just going to call it Black Twitter X. You know, it's got that nice big black. So thank you guys for being so faithful and tuning in every week. And for those of you who are watching on GRTV 25, today is Tuesday and it is May 28th, the end of another month. And we're almost 6 months into this year. So it is Tuesday, May 28th, 2024.
Wow.
So now we're going to go from being a technician, we're going to go into the book. Where did you start in your book? Where did you start writing?
So I started the book with the prologue. I started with the dream that I had.
Okay.
That's where I started the book off. So the dream will kind of give readers an insight on what it was that I experienced in my line of work, because I worked in the police department. I worked undercover prostitution, right? So that was part of Vice Enforcement Task Force to work undercover. And working undercover, I've met a lot of women while doing that work. You know, women who were, now it's called sex trafficking. Back then it was just prostitution. So I encountered a lot of women who shared a lot of things. So that's where my story starts off, and then it ventures off into my childhood. I go back in time in my childhood and I share some very happy times, some, good times, and some bad times, some challenging times. As a teenage mom, I was a teenage mother, shared my relationship with my children and their father, and just a lot of kind of trouble. I was a troubled young lady. So I share a lot of that, and still, aspiring to be that mortician or Detroit homicide detective. So that's where my journey takes the readers.
That's really inspiring that you were the troubled person and then you became the person helping troubled people. What was like the moment that shifted you?
Oh wow, where did it? That's an amazing question, and the shift happened. That I can pinpoint. I've always helped people. I've always been a person to, I guess from trying to figure out how people died to helping people live. That kind of transpired in, I want to say, maybe when I was 18, because I had a job as a cosmetic. When you go to Macy's or the mall, you see the women at the cosmetic counters and things. I was a consultant with the cosmetic brand and help women feel better about themselves. So I could say 18 is where it really kind of kicked off helping troubled people, because I met a lot of women who, when you put on makeup, they transformed immediately. And in that process of helping them with their skincare and makeup, they would share their stories and their issues and their problems. Here I am, 18, 19, 20 years old, helping, grown women with their makeup. So I think it began then and kind of just blossomed from there, from the medical examiner's office to law enforcement, and every assignment, because I call my jobs assignments. Every one that I've had, I've been helping, where there's teenagers, troubled teens, domestic violence survivors, returning citizens. I've always been one to help, I guess because it was me. I think that's it. Yeah, I didn't choose. I didn't choose what I'm doing. I think it chose me,
Yeah.
because if it was up to me, I'd probably be on a beach somewhere, soaking up the sun.
I wondered if seeing troubled children, I think that would almost be the hardest group to work with is, children who have had crimes committed against them. If that would affect you, especially being a mother and having children yourself.
That did affect me. Little did I know it was me. You know what I mean? I was a troubled young lady, not even really understanding what trouble meant to me and what was happening. Because sometimes people ask what's wrong with you versus what happened to you, right? So finding out, like I said, when you go back in time and bring the story forward, I realized a lot of things were me. I was that troubled child. I was that troubled teen. I was that, troubled young lady, dealing with a lot of trauma in my childhood. So I realized now the reason why I do what I do because it was me, and I thank God for delivering me and saving me because I wouldn't be able to do the work that I've done if I hadn't been, if God hadn't saved me from myself.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You said something really impactful there. If people asked what happened to you instead of what's wrong with you.
Yeah, I had that happen to me. I got pregnant at 15 years old and I lost a lot of friends and I was labeled fast and just different titles that they give teenage pregnant girls, right? Not knowing, I didn't even know what happened to me, but nobody asked what happened to me because something did happen to me as a little girl. I experienced being molested by family, some my brother's neighborhood friends as a little girl, you know what I mean? And I didn't understand that then what was happening to me. And I didn't even know how to express it, right? Didn't even know.
Yeah, I agree, Kylie. There's definitely is a difference, and to be able to ask those questions, I think that's what I like the most about what it is that I do is that you get that opportunity to tell your story. What did happen?
Mm-hmm.
How did we get to this point?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody acts the way that they do for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not just by happenstance. And we are so quick to be judgmental and make assumptions about what we think someone's life is about and how they got to where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned, and I want to say it was it was during our orientation to becoming pastors. I went to Cornerstone University, and this was undergrad, and the director over the entire religious department, he came in and talked to us, and he says, what's going to really help you in this journey, some of you are already pastors, some of you are going to become pastors, and what you need to know is that you must seek first to understand than to be understood. And that's what's going to make the difference in being just a good pastor and being a great pastor. Or he said, actually, just being a great servant of God is always looking. He said, because everybody acts the way that they do for a reason. You take less time to want to be heard and to be understood, but to listen to that other person. He goes, you will definitely go far. So to have learned that back in, oh my gosh, 2000 and way back then, to have learned that lesson. And here it is, 2024. And that still is the underlying driving force for me is to always seek first to understand than to be understood or to pass judgment. I want to say thank you for all of the hearts and all of the likes that are going up. I know normally we take questions and we shout everybody out, but we just have a lot today. And I want Antoinette, I call her my net, is what I call it. I call her my net. I want her really to be able to have this time to talk about her story and to just have people to listen and to hear, because you may find yourself in the situation, or you may know somebody who might need what it is that she has. And we can talk about anything here. So for as much as you feel comfortable, please share. We just don't cuss. But,
Oh, I don't cuss.
other than that, that we do share. And I think you brought up something very important, that nobody at 15 years old just says, oh yeah, I'm going to get pregnant. And you use the term fast. I remember those terms, when friends of mine, I remember her name was Cindy Spears. And we all loved on her. We don't know what the situation was. Nobody really cared. We just knew our friend needed us and we were just there. But of course, their parents, the first thing there's like, hanging out with that fast tail girl. She could have been experiencing something and not knowing what that is. And you may think, oh, someone touching you that's normal, because that's your life, because nobody has told you anything any differently. And nobody tells you, well, one touch plus two touch equals a three touch. And, 9 months later, you got, ooh, hello. And you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. You don't know, or you know, or you have a feeling that this is not right, but it's happening, right? You get sucked in, I remember when I was home and my brother's friend somehow got in our house and took me in the basement and covered my mouth and threatened to do some harm to me and my family. And I kind of don't remember too much after that, but I do remember he did something to me. And then that just snowballed into, other family members, molesting me and touching me inappropriately. And then one summer, my 15, I think I was 15. Yeah, 15. I went to stay at my dad's for the summer, and my dad lived in Las Vegas, and I just wanted to get away from home, right? And I grew up in a very staunch apostolic religion, I will call it, and I thank God for my foundation that has been laid, because it has what's kept me and what's keeping me. But back then it was no jewelry, no makeup, no pens. We couldn't play cards.
Oh gosh, absolutely not. No movies.
No
And
movies.
you had to wear a skirt that came all the way down to your ankles. And you couldn't even say, oh my gosh, that was cussing.
Yeah, you couldn't listen to secular music. We couldn't really do anything. So church was an enjoyment for me as a child. But then when you travel to other churches of the same doctrine and you see them wearing pants and jewelry, and you see, I paid attention to adults and what people were doing, like it was very contradicting and very restricting for me to even just be a kid on top of everything that else happened. So go to my dad's for the summer. My dad sees me. I'm with the long skirt, the gym shoes with the bobby socks and the ponytails. And my dad said I look like somebody off Little House on the Prairie, like Amish, farm girl. And he's like, we're not having that, and I was like, what? So I kid you not, the moment I got off that plane, my dad took me to the hairstylist, cut my hair, shaved my eyebrows. And then he took me to the mall and he changed my whole wardrobe. He said, you're not going anywhere with me looking like you just got off the farm. And he took me that was back in 1984. There was a Black Miss USA pageant in Las Vegas that my dad happened to be a part of. And he took me, soon as we got from the mall, I had this, I remember the dress. It was a pinstripe dress, fishnet stockings, high heel shoes, and I had never, never worn anything like that. I was like, my mom gonna kill you and me, right? And he took me to this event, and that night, and I remember this guy coming up to me talking about how I looked, and my dad was like, yeah, ain't my daughter fine or whatever, Fox. And the guy asked, could he take me out? My dad said, yeah. Yeah. And that night, my dad said, "Go on, have a good time." And I was like, "Daddy, I don't even know this guy." And my dad was like, "Have a good time." And make a long story short, I was raped that night by this person I did not know. And then fast forward through that summer stay, my dad had some friends who would come over and want to take his daughter out for ice cream. And my dad said, "Okay." And his friends wanted more than ice cream, and I was sexually assaulted by his friends. And I didn't tell my dad. I didn't even know, when I got back home from ice cream, because I did get ice cream and got money, and I didn't know what to say. It's like I was traumatized in a state of shock, right? Like, I can't really describe. It's indescribable, when you have someone who's sexually assaulted and you're asking them what happened and they're trying to tell you, and you really don't even know. You go into this shell. So I realized that I just went into myself to kind of block it. But that happened multiple times that summer. And then when I came back home from that summer vacation, I was someone else. I was not the same, and I end up getting pregnant. I end up, it was like I was groomed. I was groomed to know what men wanted and to pay attention to men. I paid attention, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I mean, you become a product of your environment.
Yeah, I did, and back then like I said, I didn't know what I know now, right? You don't know when you don't know. You don't
Right.
know how to communicate it. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't say. My sister knew, my twin sister though. I have an identical married twin sister. She knew something happened because I came back different, but I didn't even want to talk to my twin sister about it. But she knew. She knew. She knew. She didn't even want me to go to my dad's because how my dad was, you know. But I wanted to get away from home and wanted to see my dad.
And this is in the book.
Yeah, that is in the book. I wrote, like I said, I realized when you tell your story, you have to be very transparent. You have to tell things as they were, as it happened. And I have a message, my message is just not about me, it's about her, because in my life, as I grew up, I found so many other women. I don't care their background, I don't care their color, their education. We could all relate to my story. What happened to me happened to them, or what I was going through, they were coming in, or I met people in storms of life, or coming out, or going in, or in it. And I had to tell that part of my story, because it's not just me that it's happened to. It's a lot. That trafficking piece is not a stranger in a white van that always kidnaps girls. It's someone in the house that grooms them, someone in church that grooms them, someone in school that grooms them, someone close grooms a girl. Come sit on my lap, kind of thing. Or let me give you. It's somebody close.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You have grit though to rise out of that situation and then go into those career paths where you then are able to be in a leadership position to others. I think that's truly phenomenal, because I bet a lot of people get just sucked down in have a hard time leading that environment.
Yeah. I grit, I'll say okay to grit, but it's God, because I wasn't in my life. I realized, what happened to me and the way I was acting out. And, I was very overprotective of my own daughters
Mhm.
because of what happened to me. And sometimes I think I was suffocating them, thinking,
You become hyper vigilant.
oh
If
my
the,
God, they
you
had
become
my daughters oh my God. I was like, very suffocating to my daughters and not even understanding my own self. So here I am, traumatized, raising daughters. How do you do that? I've had to apologize to my daughters, asking them to forgive me for not being a great mom, and sharing with them the whys of who I was, especially when I became a police officer, even a medical examiner's office, because I've seen so much happen to girls and women, right? You know, you leave on a date and they don't come back home, and the mom doesn't know where they were, and I need to know who you're going out with and things. So it's definitely, like I said, my anchor and my foundation is God. I tell people is what you read here and who you see here today is God saved me from myself, because I couldn't do it, because after I left the department I was still struggling with me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have
Yeah.
amazing faith, and you sucked me in. I feel like I'm a big SVU watcher.
Yeah.
I watch SVU every week. You sucked me into this.
Oh
She
yeah.
just,
I'm excited to read it.
You know, even that show, like I tell people, until you are in it, what you see, they glamorize a lot of things on, those crime scenes, CSI, and, things like that. But to be in it, because I also did get certified in crime scene investigation while a police officer. So that kind of brought my whole life full circle, right?
Mhm.
You know? But yeah.
the time is now 20 minutes until 5 o'clock. I know that you have to go, Kylie, but we can go.
No.
Okay. We can go just a little bit longer after the 5 o'clock hour. Definitely GRTV loves it. That's a lot of program time, and it works out well. Hey, Jason, thank you for tuning in. And Maddie from Arkansas has tuned in, and she wants to know the topic. Well, today's topic, it got a bit graphic, but we are talking to author Antoinette James. I call her my net. Only I can call her that.
Yeah.
She's my net.
Mhm.
Yeah, just like my Kylie. Oh, And today we're talking about her book, and it's about her story behind the badge. And we're going back in time to bring you forward to the book and talking about some of the things that she has experienced in her life. And I definitely have to say, if you are experiencing um, any type of sexual abuse, any type of trauma, please, please, please go to your nearest adult that's not involved. Did I say that correctly? An adult that's not involved
Mhm.
in this situation, or dial 911. Dial 911, and please seek out help, because there is someone who can help you, who will help you. I know when it happened to me, I was in Denver, Colorado, and of all crazy things, it was the janitor and his wife of the mall where I lived. And I was able to tell them, and I hid at their house, or actually their apartment, and the person came looking for me, and they hid me in the closet and put a bunch of dirty clothes on top of me. And when they opened up the closet, all they saw was a pile of clothes. And so
Wow.
they left, and I was able to get out that next morning on a plane coming back to Michigan.
Mm.
So I trust me, there is somebody who will listen. There are not just men who will do things like that, but there will be women that can do it as well.
Mhm.
And so, but just know that there are great people out there that will help you. Again, my faith, my trust, and my belief in God that I could be able to tell them and get me out of Colorado and get me back to Michigan.
Yeah.
So I'm forever grateful for that couple.
That's a
that
blessing. You're a blessed. That's a blessing that you had that couple. That's so God, right?
Yeah, it really was.
Mm-hmm.
It really was to be able to get back here. And I came back, and in time for my senior year,
Mm.
I was class of 84. I graduated and I left and went into the military.
Wow. So you got
And
to.
yeah, but unfortunately, that's why my career got cut short there. I was doing 20 years. I was on my 10th year, and or I should say I was on year 8 when I was sexually and physically assaulted while on active duty, and why I am in the wheelchair today because of it. But we know that there is life after trauma.
Yes.
And so I enjoy doing what I do,
Yes.
and definitely to be able to help other people and walk them through, or in my case, I just roll them through it,
Yeah.
together. So
you roll and I walk. So we do it together.
we do.
Yes. Yep. Wow. And thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing. And that's what my book is. It's not just about me, it's about her. That's Kylie, that's you, Dr. Kimberly. I mean, we as women, we go through a lot of things that's so similar, that mirrors each other, right? Maybe not today or maybe not then, but if it didn't happen to us, we know someone that it did. And then even I even relate my being a mirror identical twin to my life mirroring so many people, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I said,
women are the keepers of secrets. Sometimes I think for too long.
Yeah. I kept it a secret. I had to, before I published my book, the editor said, well, have you talked to your dad? And I was like, no. She said, well, I think you need to talk to your dad before you publish this book because you make him sound like a villain. And I was like, well, to me, it is what it is. It was what it was. But I called my dad. I was 51 years old. I called my dad and I said, Dad, I'm calling you as the 15-year-old who spent the summer with you. And this is what happened. And, he was like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, how could you not know? You know what I mean? Like, why would you let your 15-year-old daughter go out with your grown male friends at night and go out with strangers that you don't even know? I mean, what man, what father?
What did you think was going to happen?
Exactly. I don't know. It's, and talking to my dad, we talked for hours and my dad just didn't get it in that conversation. He didn't get it. He didn't get it, And my dad had a pattern of, I think, in his life, because my mom was a teenager when he married her, and then his first wife, and then when I was a kid, he left with the babysitter. You know what I mean? So my dad's pattern kind of was there. I didn't pay attention.
A predator.
Yeah, I could say that. And then I found out, though, I will say this with my father. I went to Las Vegas just about maybe a month ago. I heard the Lord tell me, go see your dad. And I went to see my dad and I released him. I released my dad so I could be free, because forgiveness is just not about the other person. It's really about you. And so I went to my dad's about a month ago and I talked to my dad, and, especially since the book was published, because he hasn't read it, but I told him I forgive him. I release you, Dad, so I can be free. And what my dad did that day, I have never seen my dad cry. And my dad ended up telling me his traumatized childhood. His father was killed by a drunk driver as a baby. His mom, was assaulted, and so many different things happened to him as a child and as a teenager. So many things happened to him that it became him, so to speak. And he, apologized and asked God, right there, Lord, if I could take it back, change the, turn back the hands of time, he would. But I told him, you ain't got to worry about that with me, because I'm good. I'm good.
And you broke that cycle, that parenting cycle everybody talks about.
Yeah, now you can say I did that now because I'm raising grandkids, right? So I think, I'm breaking that cycle now with my grandchildren, as a mother. Like I said, I think my being overprotective, my over, more worried, my fear. I had the fear of what happened to me, what happened to my daughters, kind of, like Dr. Kimberly said, I was over vigilant.
It's called being hyper vigilant.
Hyper vigilant, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you really do have to go to therapy for that when you've experienced that type of childhood trauma and traumatizing your children by checking them to make sure everything is still intact, or grilling them when they get home, or not allowing them to go places or do things because you're afraid, you're trying to make them afraid. And then it makes them get into situations that they shouldn't, because they're like, I know how to do this. I know more. She doesn't know what she's talking about, because we don't always tell our whole truth. You know, we don't want them to know everything. Just know this is why I'm doing what you know, it's necessary. Just listen to me because it's necessary.
Yeah. And that's so true.
Afraid of, you know, making them afraid of everything when they shouldn't, when we should empower them to be stronger, to be able to communicate with us, to be able to say no, or, you know what, no matter what you say to me, you can't do anything to harm my family. You're just saying that to, you know, bind me up. So I'm gonna tell.
You sound like my parenting book.
Yes, and so that's what I do now. And that's what with my daughters, and our relationship. It's God definitely has mended and restored our relationship. Some things did happen to my oldest daughter, and it's family. Like I said, it's family, not strangers, right?
Yeah.
So my worst fears came true for my oldest daughter with my family, but to you know, today I will say it's nothing but God's grace and love and mercy. I mean, He's just taking care of us through that, and I empower my daughters. I empower women that I speak to now. I've learned to even empower myself. You know, just life lessons, and it's not mistakes. I call them messages that I've had. But yeah, the book.
Net,
Yes.
have you forgiven yourself?
Yes. First, that's the thing that I've been able to do. So forgiveness, I've asked everyone else to forgive me, and then I had to ask me. Forgive Antoinette for what you didn't know. Forgive Antoinette. Just forgive Antoinette completely. And I just did that January of this year. So just think, all those years I've been carrying all of that trauma, all of that guilt, all of that shame, all of that regret. All I was carrying, not even really knowing that I was carrying it, and I didn't forgive me, right? I thought I did, but I didn't. I didn't. But yeah, I forgive Antoinette. I forgive her and who she is now. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I love her. I love who I am. I love who I am becoming. As you see, the woman with the butterflies around her. I'm the butterfly. She is here. Like I told my sister, be her now, and I'm being who God has called and designed me to be. So He used all that trauma in my past for now. So what's happened to me is it's almost a strength, if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, I love this exercise. When I lived in Virginia, I was stationed there on the ship on the USS Emory AS 39, and I was seeing this civilian therapist, and she specialized in PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, and one of the things that she would have me do was, she said, we can create this bubble. And she would do like these regression therapy, and we would go back in time, and I would become the mother that I needed, the sister, the friend, and put me, the little Kim, into the bubble and save her. And it was probably my most favorite exercise of all. I didn't like how we had to get there, the things that we had to do, you know, and the trauma that I had to, you know, re-experience. But to get inside that bubble and to be able to protect her is so ingrained in me that, you know, I can do that now. Oh, okay. Let me come in here. Let me save her. Let me talk to her. You know, and then send her back out, stronger, more wisdom, empowered to deal with whatever the situation is at hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I have really enjoyed over the years, and that was back in 1990 and 92. Yeah, that was 1992 that we did that training, and that was way back when they had duck hunt, and it had that little gun.
Yes, the Atari.
Yes. And so she told me, she said, "Do you guys have one of those?" I said, "We do." She was like, "Take that with you, and anytime that you feel it," she says, "grab it, get inside the bubble, and you can just go." And I loved it. That, and the other thing that she told me to do, this is way back when the dollar store used to have these little grab bags that, they would just put all those little hodgepodge stuff there for girl, a boy, a mom, or a dad, and you can grab stuff and just get those things in those boxes. She says, and break them, just take out your frustration.
Mm-hmm.
Or she would tell me to go buy a stack of dishes and glasses and just throw them. There was a brick wall behind where I live, and I would just go out there and throw these dishes and crash them on the brick wall.
Oh, wow.
I had so much fun. But just having those positive coping skills,
Mm-hmm.
so, not using sex, not using alcohol, not using drugs or friends or relationships to fill in those gaps.
Yeah. It's the things we reach for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, even on a police department, as a female police officer, Black female police officer, you're viewed by the public as some crazy woman. They label us anyway, right? But when you're in a uniform, I would hear a lot of comments like, "Okay, you psycho," or "Ooh, cuff me," kind of thing. And so, even as an officer, for me, dating was hard. And I remember, what choice do I have? So even dating police officers, I ended up being sexually harassed and stalked by a fellow officer I dated. And unbeknownst to me, he was doing some very psychotic things that you think only happens in the movies. And when I found out about it and went to the police department, went to my supervisors, my lieutenant, went to, the how can I put it, the authorities, and made my complaint and filed my report, they turned it on me. What did you do? Why didn't you? Are you, they blame me for everything that happened to me. I'm like, it's not my fault. You know what I mean? Like what this guy is doing, even to my children, he was calling my children and harassing my children on the phone, saying things about me as their mother. And then, the department sending letters, sexually explicit letters. And, he was doing so many different things that the department just swept it under the rug, and said, what did you do? And then even working undercover, you men who are either politicians or pastors are out in the night looking for a trick, and they get arrested and they make phone calls, and you're told not to go to court on a ticket. And that whole culture of the criminal justice system, it's a very deep blue code of silence. I say it's deeper than the blue, because I was that officer, and every court, every judge I went to on that pastor's ticket, they adjourned it. And I was like, what? So I experienced injustice on a lot of levels. And so I become, I think, a voice for those who feel like they have none.
Yeah, that goes back to your impactful statement earlier. People need to ask what happened, not what's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Applies to the criminal justice system too.
Oh yeah, it's the biases are real. The racism is real. What's happening in our society, they call it broken. It's not broken.
Mm-hmm.
It's by design. And until someone has been on the inside and sees it and experiences on, I think, like the levels that I have from the inside, and now I'm out. Oh, I could do the job with my eyes closed. You know what I mean? Like my advocacy that I do, not just with, I mean, even with Gift of Life, right? The job that I have, the assignment I have now to help save a life, right? I don't know. I guess I'm the advocate. I feel like I've been called and chosen to do what I do on so many levels.
Has your job through Gift of Life impacted the writing in your book?
Oh yeah, actually, I think I could write a book on that too. You know, on stories of the gift of life, right? What does that look like to people? You know, I could write. It's impacted not just my writing, but my life. Like Dr. Kimberly asked, have I forgiven myself? Forgiveness. I mean, that is so key because in the gift of, I hear a lot of families say, I wish I could have said something to my loved one before they were gone, or wish I could have, you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know, life is short. So it's definitely awakened me to life.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yes. I can't hear you, Dr. Kimberly.
You're muted.
Oh, Phil, I was coughing. I said, it is now 5 o'clock, and we want to say thank you so much for tuning in on today. And the title of the book, you tell them the title of the book?
It's Behind the Badge, Her Story.
And it is available on Amazon.
Yep, Amazon and wherever books are sold online. Or they could inbox me on social media. I can sign it, you know, autograph it, sign it to the individual, whoever orders it, and send it to them. I do workshops. I travel to states across the country because there are book clubs. There are a lot of women who have had. I've been to 2 states, and here in Michigan, I've done probably like 4 workshops with women who bought the book. So it's about her story, empowering women, and you know, the power of storytelling.
Are you on Audible?
No, not yet. I want to do that. It's just the process of getting it done. I was doing that before my daughter. Like I said, before my daughter got sick, I was working on the second book and the Audible. But you know, with my daughter's illness, and like I said, she spent 8 months in ICU, so I put everything on hold to take care of my. So,
We
but
need
audio.
time. And after you do Audible, are you going to be rolling out with a second book?
Yes, I'll be rolling out with a second book, and right now I'm actually working on production to bring Behind the Badge, Her Story to life on stage to theaters. So I'm in the beginning part of that. My dream initially was I saw it in film and a movie. But I was told by a producer in Hollywood, he said, write the book first, and the offers are gonna come. So I've pitched it, and you know, to different people in LA and here in Michigan, and also went to Atlanta. So I'm waiting for someone to say, you know, we'll do the film, but right now I'm working on the stage presentation of Behind the Badge, Her Story.
That's awesome. I'm excited to follow your success.
Oh, thank you.
Myself a copy.
Oh yeah, get yourself a copy. And what I've been doing since I self-published, since the first book I've written, I sign it and I share with those who have a signed copy that it's their golden ticket to the first event, the first showing, whether it's a play or a movie.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
And while we are doing shameless plugs.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, so we can just message you on the Facebook or LinkedIn.
Yep, Facebook or LinkedIn, and let me know you want a signed copy, and I can get my Cash App. Once I get that, then what I've been doing, I've been mailing out books at the post office because some people want a signed copy when I share that information. And like I said, the book I'll be going on a book tour as well as promoting the play, and you know, hopefully it'll become the film that I see it.
Kylie, you already have a book.
Oh, yay.
Yep, Kylie already has a book. Thank you so much for co-hosting on today. You know, we
Yeah.
love shoes plugs. And to some of our faithful viewers, you will have a book coming as well.
Oh, awesome.
And we also want to say, if you are looking for meaningful work, you want to change what it is that you want to do, you know what? You need to contact Interim Healthcare.
Mhm.
Say you heard me talk about this on Rolling on the Road, or you saw one of the posts, and you will receive a $300 sign on bonus. And if you need care and you are a self payer, you will receive a $100 credit on your first bill. Again, you got to tell them that Dr. Kimberly sent you from Rolling on the Road or 100 Shades of Diversability. Kylie, you want to give them that number to call?
Yeah, 616-575-0216. And you can call that number whether you're in Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Kalamazoo, or Lansing. We
Oh, wow.
service all of West and Mid Michigan.
So, yep, you stay tuned in here. We have some great things that are going on.
Awesome.
And if you need a home assessment because you have someone, you're coming home, you've been in rehab, please give me a call, 616-514-0731, and I will hook you up with Captain Dave, and you can get a $50 discount for him coming in, making sure that your home is safe, and he will be the construction manager. Anything that needs to be taken care of or changed, he will oversee it himself. That's three things here.
Okay.
You can get a signed copy of a book. You can get a job with a sign-on bonus. You can get your home inspected. Yep. No. And if you are a caregiver to a family member and you are self-pay, you can get a $100 credit if you go with Interim Health. We thank you so much for tuning in today. Girl, what you whispering?
Oh, I said even if it's not self-pay, you can get your sign-on bonus if you're hired in to take care of your family member.
Which is wonderful. And you don't have to take other people if you don't want to. So if you don't want to do Aunt May and your mama, you could just do, look, they only going to let me do my mama, okay? Aunt May, I cannot do you. Nope.
Mhm.
But you can get your cousin Bertha to do you. Yep. And there are other jobs as well that are available other than just in-home care, even though that one's the most rewarding, being able to hang out with family members at the house safely.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's beautiful.
So we appreciate all of you, and we look forward to seeing you on next week. And yes, we will have Enid Gaddis, and we will be talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in our mental health. You know, are we all getting the same services, same access to mental health?
No.
And definitely after the things that we talked about today, we definitely need to have some mental health. And I like to always say it's not always being a veteran. It's not just even whether it's black or white. It even has to deal with male, female, and whether you're a civilian or a veteran and the type of care that you do receive, you know, as far as mental health is concerned.
Mhm.
But we look forward to seeing you guys on next week, same time, same station.
Yes.
Be well.